I have had a psychotic break with 3D reality. I have gone so far off the deep end that even flat earthers think that I have lost touch with reality. I am, in fact, rebelling against my own mind. Grand Solar Flash is almost here. What will the event actually be? Are you ready? Question your reality and then change it. ThunderWizard.com is the website for the Thunder Wizard YouTube channel. Please go and check out all the various ways that you can subscribe and get really powerful teachings and practices. We have higher dimensional energy practices, personal mentorship, spiritual counseling, live Zoom group classes. My books can be found at michaelwilliamdenny.com. Your support of this channel is needed and very appreciated. Please come check out the channel again every Wednesday and Saturday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, where we do live guided interdimensional meditations to bring the 5D Solar Flash event. Yes, I have in fact had a psychotic break with my three-dimensional reality. I am actively now just going with it, and I'm rebelling against my own mind. Do you dare join me? A lot of people aren't going to do that. A lot of people are doing that, and a lot of people are trying to figure out where they are in all of that. Very, very strange times. So today I'm going to be checking in with you on all of the ways, again, that my beliefs have completely changed. I'm doing this. I'm cataloging all of the beliefs that I have now and the experiences that I have so that I can reorganize my mind. I mean, I've accepted that I don't believe in almost anything I've ever believed in before, except for maybe that the earth is a globe. I still believe that. But pretty much everything else I don't believe. And it helps me to go through it. So if you were here last time, we went through the list, how my reality has changed in 2 years. Number 1, talked about that for quite a while. Today we're going to get into number 2. We're going to get into some more general beliefs, not just my own, but general beliefs about how stuff is. So I'm surprised. I've given up on everything, really. I mean, I've given up on the channel. I'm here making videos and still doing, everything that I've done, simply because out of a desire to be helpful and to be of service, as well as, as long as I'm still here in 3D, I still got to pay bills. So, but I've really given up on anything. I've given up on the hope of this channel going viral. I've given up on the hope of, me being able to go and share with the world all of the thoughts that I have. My books, haven't gone anywhere. I thought those were going to take off, but I've given up. And I'm not out of any, sad, pathetic way. There's really nothing left for me here in 3D. But as long as I'm still here, I'm still going to show up and do my job. So anyway, this last video, maybe because of the title, it was very interesting. A lot of trolls showed up, some well-meaning, some nice people, and some just outright hostile, abusive trolls. So when I'm not trying to make a video, people show up. When I try to make videos, that nobody seems to see it. Anyway, so we're going to get right into it there. If you go back, if you haven't already, go back and watch this video. I've completely lost my mind and I don't care anymore. And, read the absolutely unbelievably crazy, off the wall, just the nutso. I mean, I'm so far off the deep end. I've gone so far off the deep end that even the New Age people think that I've lost it. By the way, again, people are very well-meaning, but people who are brand new to the channel come on and they want to give me links, go check out these people, go check out that, they think they're trying to help me. Now, it's saddening for me, because I get these links, go check out this person's channel, go check out that person's channel. And I go check it out, and unfortunately it's the same old new age nonsense. Look, I've made videos telling you what the Anunnakis really are. I've made videos telling you about the Sumerian mythology. I've made videos about that stuff. So I know if you're brand new to the channel and you just jumped on here, you don't know that, but go check those out before you start dropping links to other people's YouTube's channels and websites, because look, anybody, let me just give you a general, here's the sad part. This is frustrating for me because I don't want to feel like I'm all alone in this. I know I'm not. I know there's other people. I've communicated with other people who are doing the meditations that are here on this channel. They're having similar experiences as I am, so I know I'm not alone. The only well-known figure that I have listened to whose experiences completely aligned with mine is Dr. Stephen Greer. Anybody who has any interest in this, any interest in UFOs, any interest in ETs, any interest in higher dimensions, if you have not thoroughly checked out his information, you are at the very least doing yourself a complete disservice. At worst, you're a hypocrite, because everything else, almost 100% of everything else out there is complete nonsense. It's people's delusions, it's people's fears, it's people who are looking to make buttloads of money. I mean, somebody sent me, check out these two channels, and I checked them out, and these are people that go all over the country doing UFO presentations, and I got nothing against that, and I got nothing against people making a living. The sad part is, look, Anunnakis, this Zecharia Sitchin Anunnaki narrative of Anunnakis being aliens who have come to Earth, who have hybridized human beings, all of that. That is stuff that, let's just be clear about where this is coming from. It's coming from the History Channel. It's coming from mainstream television. The History Channel. You can't get any more mainstream. It means that if you see mainstream media, whether it's news or whether it's the History Channel or whether it's whatever it is, if you see this plastered all over the media, it means it's a deep state psyop. So the whole belief system that you have been hybridized and created by aliens means you don't have a soul. And it is, even though you think you're buying into some rebellious truth, this is the truth they don't want you to know, which is why it's on the History Channel. This is the truth they don't want you to know, that human beings were hybridized by aliens. That belief, while it's making you feel like you're learning some secret esoteric truth, is actually, it is programming you to believe that you don't have a soul and you were created only to be a slave. So please drop any of that stuff. The law of one, nonsense. Anything Anunnaki, Zecharia Sitchin, ancient alien, nonsense. Anybody who talks like that has never been outside of the third dimension. I'm willing to accept the possibility that there are people out there that have had, that are humans, and they conflate and they mix in their fantasies with actual experiences with ETs. I know I'm not immune to that, and I work really, really, really hard. I mean, I work so hard to make sure that I don't do that, but I've still done that. So if there are people out there that aren't, that are immature and operating from fear-based and ego and all of that, and they're going to make a lot more mistakes than I am. In any case, it's frustrating because I do feel I don't see a lot of people who are talking what I experience to be the actual truth. But even what I call actual truth is so far completely off the deep end that, again, even the New Agers think I'm nuts. So let's get right into it. So this is how my reality has changed in 2 years, number 2. Again, go back and watch this one if you want to find out where it all started. But 2.5 years ago, I did CE5 and made direct contact with higher dimensional extraterrestrials, and I've been in communication with them as well as with higher dimensional beings and deities and spirits and past lives and people that I've known that have died and morphed on. That has been my reality for 2.5 years. So that's where all this comes from. Go back and watch previous videos to learn more. Go back and watch my video. Go click on the aliens playlist and see the video how I became an extraterrestrial to see when it first all started. All right, so let's get into this. How my reality has changed in 2 years, number 2. I believe that we are surrounded by infinite worlds and universes in other frequencies. So I won't get deep into it, but again, most of the time when people talk about dimensions, they don't know what they're talking about. Dimensions are, there's just like, light, white light comes at you. If it hits a prism, it's broken up into many different frequencies. We see them as colors. There's colors we can't see, like ultraviolet, and those are colors, but we can't see them because our eyes aren't made for it. But that is frequencies within the third dimension. Has, I don't even know how many frequencies within it, perhaps infinite, I don't know. So that means that there are worlds right here, third dimensional worlds right here that we can't see. But if we were to shift our frequency up, we'd be able to experience them. Very similar to the way that Carlos Castaneda teaches in his books. However, Carlos Castaneda was a fraud. He stole his base theories from Vedic scholars and others, and then he lied and said he got it from Native Americans, which he didn't, and then he created his own cult and all of that. However, like many narcissists, including narcissist cults, I could go through the cults. Many narcissists who create cults, because of their psychopathy, meaning they don't care what anybody else thinks, at times, because of their psychopathy and because of their intense need to escape their pain, they actually become awakened to truths about reality. The Nexium guy, to my absolute shock, the horrific narcissist cult member, abused people in all ways you can imagine. He belongs in prison. Bad guy. But he was able to cure people of Tourette's. And it's because he didn't care. He didn't care what they thought. He started with an intuition and an understanding that they do have the ability to stop the impulses and stop the actions. And he was able to cure people of it because of that. So Castaneda as well, there's a crazy, truth about some cult leaders. There's a reason why cult leaders get a bunch of people around. There's negative reasons, but the truth is that sometimes they tap into some of these other frequencies because they're bonkers and they don't care. So maybe that's what's happening to me. I'm trying to hold on to my emotional sanity here. I'm trying to hold on to my integrity. I'm trying to hold on to my truth. I'm trying to hold on to my love and my compassion while I'm completely going off the deep end and experiencing these other versions and other dimensions. Or at least that's what it feels like to me. Maybe I have lost it. If I were insane, I would think I was sane. So maybe by questioning my sanity, it proves I haven't lost it. Or maybe this is the truth. Maybe I'm experiencing reality for what it is, and we are in fact living in a simulation. Anyway, so I believe that we are surrounded by infinite worlds and universes in other frequencies. Again, dimensions are something else. Please don't conflate the two. Also, densities. What people mean by densities, they really mean frequencies. And all of that is nonsense. The majority of it, the stuff, the law of one, densities. I know, here's the thing that blows my mind. People who won't believe, rightly so, they won't believe mainstream media. They now reject history, which I'm beginning to completely reject, the history we've been taught. They reject religion. They reject medicine, which I'm beginning to do as well. They reject educational systems. They reject all of that, but they believe anything anybody says if it's on the fridge. Again, people have said they want to, one guy wanted to have a debate with me about the Anunnakis, and he was completely clueless because he started saying the old ancient Sumerian texts, and he didn't even realize that all he'd done is simply believe what the Zechariah Sitchin mistranslations from the History Channel that's been plastered everywhere, and he somehow thought he had some truth. These are the most ancient. And I said to him, even if you're right and these are the most ancient writings, it doesn't change the fact they were written by humans. So you believe everything a human tells you? I mean, you believe what the ancient Sumerian Empire kings wrote down without questioning it. But you don't believe what our government tells you. So you will believe one government but not another. And then people quote the Bible and mix it in with the Sumerian tablets. The Bible was written by people. I mean, this is what blows my mind. People who think that they're on the fringes. They think they're getting these secret truths. But it's just depending on whose version of reality you're willing to swallow completely. I don't expect anybody to believe what I say. I'm telling you the truth as I see it. And I believe it's the truth. I wouldn't tell it to you if I hadn't experienced it and, whatever. I'm telling you the truth as I honestly see it and experience it, but I'm willing to be wrong. And I'm willing to change my tune whenever I know that I'm wrong. And I'm not expecting you to believe me. I'm giving you practices. The website, the thunderwizard.com website, is all about the practices. Do the practices and you'll find out. Do the interdimensional meditation. Every time I do that, I go out of my way. I mean, my main goal is to have you have a personal experience with higher dimensional beings so that you can awaken. I have no interest in you believing me. I have no interest in being a cult leader. A teacher is just somebody who says, here's the stuff, you go figure it out. It just amazes me how people just simply believe whatever they're told without fact checking it, researching it, without agenda. I know why it is. It's because we all have feelings and emotions, and we all have fears, and we all have attachments, and we all have desires. And we know now what not to believe, but somebody comes along and starts talking in a way that is different from what we've heard, and we desperately want to be told something so that we don't feel like we're all alone in this empty universe. And so we just swallow whatever somebody gives us. Well, it didn't come from supposed mainstream media, so it must be true. The flat earthers are very interesting to me. Because they project themselves as they rebel against the false truth, false narratives, false consensus. But when you find out why they believe what they believe, it's based on complete fear. Because I think about this. Look, I personally don't care if the world is round, oblong, square, flat. I don't care, because the truth is we're only seeing a third dimensional aspect of things anyway. So I know that the earth isn't really a globe. It's something far beyond what I can comprehend. But my third dimensional eyes and my third dimensional body experiences it as a globe. We experience the stars as globes and all that, but if you know anything, a being from a higher dimension, if they poke their head into the third dimension, the first thing that'll happen is they'll show up as a globe. That's why orbs, whenever you do CE5, the orbs show up. When supposed angels are visiting you, orbs show up. That means that beings from higher dimensions are poking their bodies or their energy into the third dimension, and the way it's coming from a higher dimension is it starts as a little globe and then it expands. That's not what it is. It's not a globe. It's something far, far beyond anything you can possibly imagine. So stop believing whatever you're told, please. Take the stuff that I give you and go find out for yourself. Please think for yourself. Please. Or I will go even more insane, and then you'll be responsible. And you don't want to live with that. I'm just kidding. So, I believe we are surrounded by infinite worlds and universes in other frequencies. Number 2, I believe that fairies, gnomes, demons, earth spirits, Sasquatches, giants live in parallel earths. I believe that one of the things that we are going to experience when this higher dimensional shift comes is that we will be able to see and interact with beings that have only been mythical. The reason why they're mythical is that the farther you go back in human history, you get closer to what we call Satya Yuga. So again, we are in, if you look at this, it says AD 1700, and you see that red line, that's where we are now. We are in an ascending Yuga cycle. We've just come out of the deepest, darkest Kali Yuga, which we got out of in 1700. We're starting to make our way back up towards Satya Yuga, which is, Satya Yuga is the age of enlightenment where all beings are 100% connected. All humans were 100% connected to gods, beings, other dimensions. We lived in 5D. And then at around 11,500 BC, we started descending. We started going down the cycles again. The yugas don't last for millions of years like you've been told. That's misinformation, unfortunately. They last for 24 to 26,000 years. So at 11,500 BC, we started descending back down to the lower yugas, Treta, Dvapara, Kali. Now we're going back up again. So how did I get started on that? So the ancient mythology of gnomes and elves and fairies and spirits and giants and all of that, that existed back then because gods, gods coming to earth and all of that. Not extraterrestrials coming in Anunnaki spaceships. That's a third dimensional distortion. Reality is that we lived in a time where gods came and went. Higher dimensional beings came and went. Extraterrestrials came and went. And other spiritual beings lived amongst us, just like the Lord of the Rings. It was just like that. The other beings that lived in the mountains and lived on the ground and lived in the sky and lived in the trees, and they all interacted and communicated. That's why it's part of our mythology. That's real history. But it doesn't work in 3D. We don't have that same connection now. So what's going to happen is when we get to this higher dimensional shift, we'll be able to interact with those beings again. But I'm saying they are not out of the third dimension. They're in different frequencies of the third dimension. They're not fifth dimensional beings or whatever. Again, the dimensions are a whole different subject. I won't take the time to talk about that. All right, let's keep going. All right, so I believe the fairies, gnomes, demons, earth spirits, Sasquatches, giants live in parallel earths, which means different frequencies of the third dimension. Number 3, I believe that I and other higher dimensional gods created planet Earth as a laboratory for soul consciousness. All right, so this is me trying to deal with, what higher dimensional extraterrestrials began telling me. I mean, the people talking about ETs and aliens really have absolutely no clue what these beings are. Zero clue. But it's logical. It makes sense because I believe the same thing. Because if you come from a third dimensional, this frequency of third dimension, and you try and understand what a being from another planet would be like, you project onto it a third dimensional understanding. But the truth is that Earth is a very, very unique experience in the multiverse. It's literally like its own, if you go, like, imagine you go into a building, that's, got a bunch, whatever, scientific experiments, and there's a room in the back that has, like, the firewall, you have to press the button and the door opens, and it's completely walled off from the rest of the facility so that, the radiation or the whatever doesn't leak out. That's Earth. Earth is completely walled off from the rest of the multiverse because it is such a dangerous experiment. And the experiment has gone awry. The horrific things that are being done by the dark force humans, it's not false beings of light doing this. It's not Satan doing this. It's not, there are demons, but they're not what you think they are. It's not, there aren't evil gods. There isn't a war between the good gods and the bad gods. There isn't a war between the good aliens and the bad aliens. The negativity that's happening is literally isolated within the third dimension. But if you live in the third dimension, you only see the third dimension. And so when you try to imagine what anything outside of it is, you project what is going on, the evil inside of you and the evil that other people are exhibiting. Because there are evil people in the world, which means really that they're disconnected from their soul. Everybody has a soul that is a god. But if you get disconnected from it, you only operate from your third dimensional programming. You're an NPC. There are NPCs, but it's not what people think. These aren't people that are without souls. They're just, that soul essence is not affecting their 3D programming essence. So they're behaving as though they don't have a soul. They do, but they have no access to it. But if you've experienced that, you sense it, you know that there's evil in the world. You know that there are, the stuff that is being revealed to the world, on the alternative video platforms. The stuff that's being revealed to the world about what's going on at the deepest levels of government is diabolical. It's like out of the horror movie, how evil it is. But those are human beings that are doing that. But because it's so evil, it's so psychopathic, we don't know how to process it. So we turn them into these evil gods. This is why people want to believe in Anunnakis, because they know inside that something is really wrong. There's a horrific evil in this world, but it's coming from humans. It's not coming from anything outside of us. And this is the biggest lesson. This has been interesting uploading this video because there's been all kinds of comments coming in on all different ranges, and I've had to interact with some people. One person deleted their comments because I pointed out that their comment was destructive to me. I knew that they were coming from a good place, but they were being codependent and they were actually devaluing me. And I very kindly pointed that out, and to their credit, they deleted the comment. Other people have just been outrightly abusive to me. I'm okay with people not agreeing with me. One person said, I don't think that's what's happening. And I said, you might be right. I'm okay with that. When people start getting personal. But the point I'm trying to make is that as I think about the people in my life who have been abusive to me, it's really coming from their lack of understanding of themselves. Most specifically, it comes from their self-hatred. And they're completely unconscious of it. I mean, I'm thinking in terms of one guy who was a teacher of mine for many years. I've had numerous ones, but this was a guy I thought, I put this guy up on a pedestal, unfortunately. And recently it's come to my attention that he's extremely unconscious in one area, and he's very self-destructive and self-devaluing in one specific area. And it finally leaked out onto me and was a devaluing, abusive experience that I went through with him. I'm not angry with him. I'm not hurt. I now realize he has self-devaluation. And your self-devaluation always leaks out onto other people in the form of some kind of abuse. Even if it's codependent, when you give unsolicited advice, when you project your fears onto other people, and you start telling people, how, you start giving them advice on how to live their life based on your fears. Again, the most destructive part about this whole Anunnaki nonsense, Anunnakis being, Anunnakis was just the name of the gods and the giants and the titans in the Sumerian mythology. It was twisted. By the time it got written down, it was twisted to help promote the psychopathy of the Sumerian kings. So the Sumerian mythology has a lot of truth in it, but some of it's been twisted around. I forgot what I was saying. Anyway, bottom line is that if we're going to get out of this higher dimensional shift, you're going to have to learn how to love yourself. This is what people don't understand. What you don't understand, you think that evil people consciously try to be evil to you. They don't. Evil people usually think they're doing the right thing. What's happening, though, is they end up projecting their own self-devaluation, their own negative self-experience onto the world and onto you, and they become hurtful. Or outright, evil and psychopathic. Hitler thought he was doing the right thing. Hitler thought he was saving the world. Incredibly evil man, but he thought he was saving the world. He was deluded because of his own self-hatred. So my biggest lesson, and what I'm finding out, this is my lesson I've been learning for 13,000 years, is that I have to let people have their own experiment with themselves. So the people that don't shift out of this third dimensional frequency, they won't shift out of it, not because they're bad people. They won't shift out of it because they don't know themselves. And they're not aware of their own self-hatred. The most frightening experience in my life was when I made that first contact with my friend here. If you watch the video, you will hear me on the verge of tears saying, I'm afraid. And I was absolutely scared out of my gourd. But it wasn't because anything evil was happening. I was aware that there was a higher dimensional being in the room with me, and I was aware that something beyond what I could comprehend in the third dimension was happening, or that was supposed to be impossible was happening. But the biggest thing was the love. The love that was hitting me. My experience was I responded with terror and fear. And it's because we don't realize that we are attached to our self-devaluation. We think it's keeping us alive. Because the truth is, the third dimension runs on self-devaluation. That's why people believe in false beings of light. That's why people believe that there's an all-powerful devil that's as powerful as God that's trying to steal your soul. That's why people believe that other beings have the power to take over your consciousness and to force you to reincarnate. People believe that because that fear keeps them comfortable in the third dimension. And when you feel true love, which completely liberates you, it's nothing you've ever felt before. It's the energy of it is so intense, it starts to make you come apart. It is so frightening. But that's what the fight is about. The fight is about learning to surrender to the love and learning how to love yourself. People who are good to you, it's because they're good to themselves. All right, I'll stop preaching about that. So I believe that I and other higher dimensional gods created planet Earth as a laboratory for soul consciousness. What blows my mind is that what Light Being showed me was that I was a deity. I was a powerful deity that had the ability to create and had created entire universes. And I believe that I and very likely other humans, if you're a human, you're actually a much higher dimensional being. I believe that I and other higher dimensional beings created Earth specifically as a laboratory. Now again, somebody gave me a link to one of these New Age guys, and this guy started talking, and I started thinking, okay, maybe this guy knows what he's talking about. Because he started saying that Earth was meant to be a laboratory of consciousness, and then he started going off about how we were, hybrid bred by, and then he went off into some Anunnaki nonsense. So, no, nobody else created this laboratory and then put us in it. We created the laboratory, and we put ourselves in it. We chose to come here. We created this laboratory knowing that the dense third dimensional frequency we were creating was going to be so difficult. And here's the lesson. The lesson of the third dimension is finding your true self and then making the decision to surrender and love yourself completely. That's the only reason we're here. If you don't do that, you will harm yourself and you will harm other people. And that will create a shift down. This is again what I was trying to prevent 13,000 years ago. I saw it coming. I didn't learn the lesson that people have to find that out for themselves. So this time around, I'm not aware that I have any ability to prevent what's coming. And I wouldn't even if I did have that power. But this time around, what I'm going to do is I'm going to know that perhaps people that I know and love, will choose to stay within their self-devaluation because they understand it and because apparently they have other things they need to learn. They still need to find themselves. When you find yourself, you will find God, meaning you will find that you are God. Not that you will find God out there or find God within. No, you'll find out you're God. And God doesn't hate him or herself. God is not only complete love for everything else, God is complete self-love. And we've been lied to by the second dimensional programming saying that Satan loved himself and that's evil. That's not true. If there were a Satan, there isn't. But if there were a Satan, it would mean that he hated himself. And again, think about this ridiculous nonsense that you've been told in the Bible. That supposedly the most beautiful angel, the one that was closest to God, somehow got a burr up his ass and decided that he was going to rebel. and he decided he hated God, and he was jealous of it. Does that make any sense to you? Of course not, because it's all made up nonsense. It's all people's fears designed to program you and keep you in fear. And here's the thing, even people who mean well, what they're trying to do is they're trying to program you into their self-devalued negativity. I've shared this story before, but it's absolutely brilliant. Joe Dispenza, I don't know, I'm gonna say it in the way that I remember it. I don't remember exactly what he said, but he was doing a seminar on tapping into the pineal gland, which we do on this channel also. Tap into the pineal gland, and as he was going through it, he noticed that there were these beings in the room, these very tall, like light beings in the room. And he asked them, he said, "Why don't you join us?" And they said, "We would like to, but we can't. Because if we allow ourselves to go down to your frequency, we would damage ourselves. And we love ourselves too much to damage ourselves. But if you shift yourself up, we'll meet you halfway." And so that tells you, unlike what you've been told, like Jesus came to earth and allowed himself to be sacrificed and killed to save others. That is the most codependent, toxic codependent belief system in existence. Unlike Odin, who sacrificed himself to himself. He didn't save you, he saved himself by becoming aware of who he was, and then he literally became king of the gods. He didn't become king of the gods for any other reason other than he died to his self-devaluation, his self-hatred. And that opened him up, and then the runes appeared to him, the mysteries of the universe, and he became king of the gods. You want to become king of the gods? You can. You have to learn how to completely, totally love yourself. And that will mean death to your third dimensional reality. It will be painful, it will be frightening. So everything you've been taught about becoming enlightened means that you just sort of have this really cool, orgasm, and everything is, wow, man, and I'm enlightened and I don't have any problems. It's not like that. You will have to go through, again, mythology. Not modern nonsense. Mythology tells you the truth. The old school. You have to die to yourself. You have to sacrifice yourself to yourself. Screaming, Odin took up the runes. Screaming. It was painful and frightening. The most frightening thing will be to learn to love yourself and be completely seen and loved by beings in a higher dimension. All right. I believe that number 4, 3D space-time is a virtual reality simulation that traps our attention from reality. I already talked about that. I believe that all souls on planet Earth are higher dimensional gods who chose to incarnate to learn manifestation. I already talked about that. I believe that the main reason I have incarnated in this lifetime is to destroy this 3D Earth. So this is where it starts to get loopy. I don't need to believe this. I swear to you, I have no ego attached to this. Because the truth is, I don't get anything egotistically from it. The truth is that nobody in the third dimension, unless you're listening to me and you choose to believe it, or you might have seen something out in interdimensional meditation which might lead you to believe this. Outside of that, nobody in the third dimension is gonna acknowledge what I'm about to say. And so there's literally nothing for me to gain. If I tried to go out there and start a cult around this, nobody would buy it. Nobody would believe me. If I tried to go and tell world leaders, if I tried to try and convince people to act differently, nobody would believe me. So I'm not going to get anything out. My ego will not gain anything from this knowledge. It gains nothing from it. And delusions are about, escaping in your ego. So this does nothing for my ego. In fact, it's kind of a letdown. Because I don't get any credit for it. I don't get any perks on 3D Earth for what I'm about to tell you. So it is my belief based on what I've been told, what I've been shown, as well as my experiences and then the objective shifts that have happened as a result of us doing these live guided interdimensional meditations. I believe that the reason I was born on this planet was so that I would do those meditations, and when we're doing those meditations, I am actually destroying the third dimension. And that kind of power, I mean, there's no power on earth that comes close to it. Nothing. So ironically, literally, I can't think of anything more powerful than that. And at the same time, I get zero benefit in the third dimension from it. Zero. This is one of the reasons I'm ready to go. Because there's nothing left for me to benefit. There's nothing left here. Once I've done that and I accept that, I'm like, well then, shit. What am I doing here? Nothing left. So I'm literally just staying here to finish that job. Now, I'm not doing this alone. So far, there's about 30 people that show up every time we do these meditations. And I have to assume that you are also literal star seeds that have come here for this purpose, to destroy the third dimension. And we're doing this together. And, I don't know what power the light beings and the gods have when it comes to this. I call them to us, and they definitely show up every time we do this. But the first time that I did a live interdimensional meditation to bring the solar flash event, I did it on a whim, because I had just found out about this thing called the solar flash, and I went, well, shit, let's just get this thing started. I don't want to wait around. So I had this intuition that I should do a live meditation, and we would just simply in meditation fly into the sun and send solar energy to Earth. That's it. I didn't expect anything. It was just sort of like a fun meditation. I knew that it would feel good. It would be empowering. It would, we would get power from the sun just by doing it. It's a way of connecting with the sun. I didn't think anything beyond that. I had some intuition that told me this was important, but really, outside of that. And then we did that, and as you've heard me say many times, the light beings showed up, thousands of them, and they were absolutely beside themselves with gratitude. Thank you so much. Thank you for doing that. You have no idea what you've accomplished. Watch what's going to happen. You've released it, and literally while we did that, the sun released a huge coronal mass ejection that hit the Earth, and we had this big upshift in consciousness after that, and I went, wow, that was interesting, and it freaked me out. So I stopped doing it because it physically, my 3D identity started falling apart, and it was hard on me physically. So I didn't do it for a while, for a long while, and then I started doing it again. And every time we did it, stuff would happen, and I would die a little bit, like Odin. I would die to myself every time I did this. But after I did that, and in between, my friend here showed up one day, and in meditation he said, "Come with me, I want to show you something." I said, "Okay." So we went to the sun, and he said, "Watch this." And he went into the sun, and he tried to do what I did, what we did. He tried to go to the sun and send solar energy to Earth, and nothing happened. And he came out of the sun, and he said, "See, I can't do it." He says, "Only you can do it. You came from Earth. You're the only one that can do this. This won't happen if you don't do it." And as always, I just took it with a grain of salt. I didn't believe it or not believe it. I said, "Oh, that was an interesting, meditation." But now I believe it. I believe that this is my job. I believe that I am leading armies of souls. Just as, so far it takes 30 people. I know that there's more people that show up afterwards, which actually, could turn it into hundreds. But even that's a small number of people. So that means a few hundred people maximum are doing these meditations. And we are bringing the solar flash event. Do you realize how powerful that makes you? Think about that for a second. Nobody else can do that. Nobody on earth can do that. The gods aren't doing it. The light beings aren't doing it. Extraterrestrials, higher dimensional extraterrestrials can't do it. It means you have more power than God. You have the power of I don't think I can comprehend it. But it means that when we're sending that energy, especially when we're chanting the Huar breath, which you're hearing in the background, when we chant that, we are literally shifting an entire reality. We're destroying one and creating another. Who besides God can do that? It's blasphemy to even talk like that. And yet that is the objective, critical thinking conclusion if any of this is true. So this is what I believe, and it's absolutely crazy to believe such a thing. When I go out there, there are armies of light beings that show up and ask me to tell them what to do. I go and I talk to any of the councils, any of them. Council of 9, Council of 3, Council of 5. When I go and talk to the galactic protectors, those are pretty crazy beings. When I talk to beings who control timelines and alternate dimensions, they treat me like I'm their superior. They treat me like I'm a god. That's nuts. I'm not unaware of how completely nuts that is. Completely bonkers. Or it's the truth. And right now, what you're seeing and experiencing is a third dimensional avatar that has the tiniest bit of my consciousness in it that thinks it's a complete being. Thinks I think I'm just a 3D human walking around. So that's crazy. I'm talking about it because it's crazy. But I'm also talking about it because I want you to have the opportunity to experience that for yourself. If that's true, if that's true for you, I want you to have that experience. I want you to be open to that. Because even if we just take the Mandela effect, forget about everything else. We just take the Mandela effect. If the Mandela effect is real, it means that literally nothing in this third dimension is real. Nothing. Can't bank on any of it. It's all a simulation. It's all a program that is being deleted. So we can't say, well, this makes sense, but this doesn't. No, literally everything in the third dimension is completely made up and doesn't make any sense, which means that there's no such thing as sane and insane. There's no such thing as possible and impossible, because this is a video game. Okay, what else? I believe that the main reason I've incarnated in this lifetime is to destroy this 3D Earth. I believe I have been waiting my whole life for this time to activate the central sun and release 5D. I believe that it is my karmic destiny to rule as king in 5D Earth to atone for creating the flood. I have to tell you, that's the hardest thing for me to accept. I have no need to accept that. I don't have any desire for power like that. I've never wanted that. I turn people away. If it's not convenient, or I think, more importantly, if I don't think I can be helpful, I turn people away. So I'm not looking to gather big groups of people. I'm not looking to be a cult leader. I have no interest in being a ruler. It sounds like a lot of work. I'm too lazy for that. I don't want to do that. I can talk about being God and flying up in the sky and changing 3D. As hard as that is, that is a lot easier for me to talk about than to say I'm king of Earth. It sounds so narcissistic. And I've been called a narcissist my whole life. People have called me that my whole life. It's a very hard thing to hear, because I'm opinionated. I'm thin-skinned, insecure. We can call that narcissistic, but narcissists actually like to control people. I have no interest in controlling anybody. I just want to surf and enjoy the beach. That's really all I care about. So to actually allow myself to believe that's my karmic destiny. Well, first we have to get past the belief that there is a 5D, that there is that we're going to shift into that. I'd be lying to you if I said I completely believe that. I totally feel that. I don't. I didn't even know such a thing existed. Doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, hypothetically it makes sense, but physically, do I know that? I don't know that. I only know this third dimension. I've had a bunch of experiences, but, in the end, I still end up waking up in my 3D body. So this idea that I'm going to be king of the third dimensional Earth, the fifth dimensional Earth. I mean, I'm still, anyway. But that, again, what I believe now, I believe that. I'm choosing to believe it. I'm choosing, what I'm really doing is I'm choosing to believe what I interpret I've been told. I'm choosing to believe that. Not because it appeals to me, but because, all of the evidence that has been given to me based on my internal experience of my astral body, interactions, which again is really just my internal experience. At least in the third dimension, that's how I experience it, as an internal experience. What I'm finding out is that from a higher dimension, it's not internal at all. That when I'm, got my eyes closed and I'm chanting and my crown chakra is vibrating like this, and I'm imagining that I'm out in the center of the galaxy, and I'm a big giant dragon, and I'm sending blue flame energy into the center of the galaxy. When I think that I'm having that internal fantasy experience, what I've come to find out is that that's really happening in a higher dimension. Like, that is more real than anything I experience here. And all of my higher dimensional being friends are actually watching that, and for them it's real. It's as real as anything. It's that's reality according to them. So if everything in this third dimension is just a video game and it's an illusion, then I'm going to choose to believe in that reality. Not because it does anything for me, it doesn't. But just if I follow my critical thinking and I follow the most logical evidence, that makes sense. I'm going to believe that. Let's keep going. I believe that the sun is my mother and she has waited for me to activate the solar flash event. Okay, I've maybe talked about this one or two times. This absolutely blows, it just destroys. This is a psychotic break from everything that I've known about reality. Completely, totally destroyed. My mother passed away in 2017. So 8 years ago? I'm horrible at math. 3 and 4 is 7 years ago. So my mother was definitely a third dimensional woman, and I didn't have the greatest childhood. She had good intentions. I know that she loved me but she had some challenges. She was, I grew up in a very dysfunctional home, so she made some pretty big mistakes. And she, was limited in a lot of ways. She died, she passed away. I've since interacted with her numerous times. I had a dream, not long after her death, that I was dreaming that I was in this basement of this house, and there was this little blonde girl that had curls, looked like she was, from the late 1800s or something. And I somehow knew it was my mom, even though my mom had dark black hair and this little girl was blonde. And I knew it was my mom. I didn't know how I knew that. My mom had somehow transformed into this 1800s girl, and I walked up to her and I said, "Hey, little girl, what are you doing?" Even though I knew it was my mom. She said, "I'm waiting for my daddy to come get me." And she was just sitting there playing with playing with some little old-timey doll or toy or something. And she was just oblivious. And I woke up and wow, my mom's soul is really screwed up. She's lost in this horrible, wow. And then after my first experience with the light beings, a light being showed up one day, and I was in this house and I was walking around, and this being showed up and started telling me, "Your mom wants to talk to you." I said, "I don't want to talk to her. We're done with that. She's gone. I never need to see her again. I never want to talk to her again. I wish her the best, but I'm done with that." And this being wouldn't let me alone. It felt like in my mind, it felt like it was a gray alien. And kept on saying, "Your mom wants to talk to you. Your mom wants to talk to you. Please, please just listen to her. She really wants to talk to you." Just wouldn't let me alone. I said, "Okay, fine. I'll talk to my mom." So I went into meditation, closed my eyes. My mom showed up. Actually, my whole family showed up that had died. My mom, my dad, my sister, my brother, my fiance that passed away. But I found out that that my mom had been a little girl in the 1800s, and I was her father. And that I neglected her, and it devastated her. And she loved me. She's like I was her hero, and she really wanted to connect with me. And so she reincarnated in this life as my mother. And all of what I experienced as abuse was actually her soul in pain trying to connect with me on a deep level. Ended up being an overprotective, codependent, abusive mother. So she said, "That's why I did that. I was acting out from that life. I was really trying to connect with you. I really loved you. I loved you more than you could imagine, and I didn't know how to handle it as your mother." And so that's why I was so overprotective and codependent and stifling and abusive. So that was a big wow. So that dream actually meant something. It was about. So we talked and we worked through it, and I gave her love and forgave her, and she forgave me, and we became really good friends. And my mom used to show up in my daily meditations, and she was just really excited and really helpful. She was a really helpful friend, and we became these like friends. And then she said, "I'm going to be leaving. I got other stuff I got to do." And I said, "Okay, thank you, best of luck and wherever you're going, off into the ethers." And then one day, in meditation, some light beings showed up and wanted me to get in their spaceship. It said, "We want to show you something." I said, "Okay." So I got on their spaceship, and they, warped into some other part of the universe and stopped, and there were all these newly forming stars. They said, "This is a nursery for stars." And they said, "Each one of those stars is a soul. It's a soul of a being that has decided to become a star. Why don't you go talk to that one?" So So I said, okay. And I flew out. And there was a star there. And I started communicating with this star, and it was my mother. The soul of my mother. That's freaky. That's weird. You don't expect that. I wasn't expecting that. I didn't think that humans could become stars. I didn't think that was possible. And what blew my mind was what a commitment. She's, stars last for billions of years. She's committing to live a life as a star for billions of years. That was really difficult to comprehend. And then and then it gets weirder. And again, this is nothing I would have imagined. Maybe you're listening to it and you might think what I'm about to tell you, you might think, well, that's his, his neglected little boy, that's the fantasy. But I'm telling you, this is not something I would have fantasized. I wouldn't have imagined this. It's far beyond anything. It just completely destroys anything I could have understood about how consciousness in the universe works. And she said, I've made a decision to become a star for you. And I was trying to understand what that meant. She said, you're a god in this multiverse. And I've been watching you for trillions of years. And I've been worshiping you. You're one of the most inspiring beings in the universe. And then, I think she gave me a picture of myself. Other beings have done. And I saw this picture of this amazing, bright, white, multicolored, just like quasar star that just like outshined everything. She said, that's what you are. And I know you don't know that right now, but that's what you are. And you are such an inspiration to me. And I wanted to do something to show you. I wanted to shine and send my love into all corners of the multiverse as a gift to you, so that you would know how you've affected me over these trillions of years. And it just devastated me. And of course, I can't explain to you the energies that were hitting me and all that stuff. And then I came out of that meditation like, what the fuck was that? What am I supposed to do with that? And I felt so like guilty and responsible that, that somebody committed to being a star for billions of years. And then I got out of my false humility and my ego, and I realized, well, obviously this is something that she's enjoying, and being a son is just being in bliss. In case you didn't know that, stars are in bliss. The reason why they're shining is that they are just in 100% orgasmic bliss, and they are exploding that bliss into all directions for all beings. That's why we go and we sunbathe. That's why we sun worship. That's why, the sun gives life to everything. It's just orgasmic bliss. And my mom became that for me. Now, what I ended up finding out later in meditation was that all of the stars are feminine, and they connect with each other. And so this star, I realized, one of the things my mom was doing is that she wanted to have like a direct connection to this star. And so all I have to do is talk to this sun. And I say, hi, Mom. And I feel her. I feel her love, and I feel her. This is the kind of stuff, I don't think you can make this shit up. I don't hear the New Age guys talk like this. I got to tell you, I think most of them are talking out of their ass. I think they're making shit up. I think they're smoking weed. I could be wrong, but I just don't. And any of the channelers, I haven't listened to one channeler that I've said that person is channeling something, unless they happen to be somebody who's in meditation and they happen to be repeating. You know, they're in meditation and they're repeating what they're hearing. That's different. That's not somebody who's pretending to channel this, you know, being this particular Arcturian and making a bunch of theatrical, ridiculous nonsense and acting like they're possessed. It's all nonsense. That's all complete nonsense. All of the consciousness in this multiverse is just like me and you. And there's no need for all the theatrics and the craziness. They can talk to you just like I'm talking to you now. All right, what else? All right, so I believe that the sun is my mother and she's waited for me to activate the solar flash event. I believe that it is my karmic destiny to rule as king in 5D Earth to atone for I said that already. Even though I believe I am a supreme deity who created Earth, I am only one of infinite gods walking around on Earth. I think it's possible that every single human is an infinite God. The only question is how much of that aspect of them have they downloaded, and awoken to. Like I said, you know, the psychopaths, the evil psychopaths, they are deities as well, but their perception is completely cut off from it. So it's really about how much we're able to download higher dimensional versions of ourselves and expand that. You know, I believe that 5D, whatever it is three-dimensional humans walking around who are also, you know, like in layers. You know, they're accordion, stacked layers of higher dimensional versions of themselves that they can tap into, travel up and down that ladder within their own consciousness. I'm able to do that more and more now. I'm still 3D though. I'm still 3D. That hasn't gone away. All right, what else? Even though I am a supreme creator deity in my 3D form, I have no more power than anyone else. I already said that. The only God powers that I seem to retain in 3D are my abilities in my astral form to shift 3D reality to 5D. So I think I have direct access to that. Whenever I go into meditation, I can go do that. I can go and change reality. Outside of that, I'm not aware of any superpowers that I have in 3D. I guess, you know, I created this avatar, and like when you create an avatar, you decide, you know, the program tells you, you know, how powerful your avatar can get. Your experience, then his power grows. But there's a limit. You can only gain so much power as a paladin or a dwarf or a mage or a shaman or a wizard or whatever it is. There's only so much that you can accomplish within that program in whatever avatar you've created. So this avatar is pretty powerful. I do have some power, and there are some things I have power over that I choose not to use because I was directly told not to. I think maybe I tested myself to see if I would abuse my power. So I do have some powers. I've known that. I don't use them. But the powers that I would really want would be, you know, to be really popular and to have lots of money and to, you know, never age and, you know, be able to walk into a room and, you know, just like send my energy so strongly that everybody, those kinds of things, that kind of fantasy, I would like to have that, but I don't have those powers, to my knowledge. I don't have that. I'm as human as, you can tell. The wrinkles, the bags under my eyes, I'm doing a pretty good job of, I'm very healthy. I don't have any illness whatsoever, but I'm still 61 years old and I can't surf like I used to. I can't perform in the gym like I used to, I have to take more naps, and I'm still as 3D as everybody else. Let's see. I believe that the Vedic myth about Pururuvas is my past life as a king. Again, I'm cataloging all of the crazy stuff that I believe so that I can form it in my head, so that I can recreate a new identity that makes sense. Instead of, if I don't do this, myself, what ends up happening is everything is just sort of scattered around and I don't really understand. I don't know who I am. I'm recreating my identity, my 3D identity, so I can understand. So Pururuvas is a Vedic king. And he, in Vedic mythology, is the first king of Earth. And there's some interesting things about him, and a celestial nymph that he has this on again, off again romance. I don't really care a whole hell of a lot about that. But I believe that that's a myth about me, because when I first met what I call the mother-father deity, which is the pure bright light of all of the suns, which is feminine, and then the darkness, which was masculine, which again, if you look at the yin-yang symbol at the center of the masculine, which is white, is a dark spot, and the center of the feminine, which is dark, is a light spot. So the source of the feminine is light, and the source of the masculine is dark. We experience it in the third dimension opposite. We experience light as masculine and darkness as feminine. But it's actually flipped on its head. When you get out of the third dimension, it's the opposite. So when I met with this, when I was introduced to this being said, we are the gods that the gods worship. And they said, we created you. You are Shiva. You are the God. You created this whole universe. We sent you to Earth so that you would discover what makes humans afraid, which is what I've already told you. The fear of being completely seen and loved is the biggest thing that humans are most afraid of. Everything. Every single problem. People who commit mass murder, they're simply afraid of being seen and loved. That fear drives them to do that. Abusers, thieves, whatever it is that people do wrong, the source of it is the fear of being completely seen and loved. They said, anyway, you're our son. We created you. Blah 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 blah. And I learned that the name of the masculine, he called himself Tahunta, and he also gave me an alternate, Tarhunt. I had never heard of that before. I went looking up and went, oh my God, that's the ancient, that's the pre-Vedic, Indo-European god, masculine storm god. Wow. And then I didn't know what the name of the mother, the goddess of light was, the sun goddess. I didn't know what her name was. So I found the Vedic equivalent and I started calling her by that name. Not the Vedic equivalent, the Hittite, because Tarhunt is a Hittite. So I found the Hittite equivalent of her and I started calling her by that name. And she corrected me one day at the very end, and she very kindly corrected me and said, Ilah. That was her name, Ilah. So I went and looked for Ilah, and guess what? Ilah was the sun goddess who is the mother of Pururuvas, the first emperor of Earth. couldn't have figured that out on my own. Unless you think that I'm lying and I've made all this up, which, you have no way of knowing whether I'm telling the truth or not. But I'm telling you, if you choose to believe me, there's no way I could have known that. They told me I was king of earth. I've been king of earth. We created you, made you king of earth. And oh, by the way, my name is Allah. Go look that up. Allah is the mother of Pururvas, the first king. So I don't believe it because I remember it. I believe it because I was told that, and I researched it, and there's no way I could have known it. Everything they tell me turns out to be true. So, I believe that the Vedic, the Norse mythological prediction of a god king who returns to Earth after Ragnarok is about me, in my belief. So one of the things I started looking at is that, okay, so all this stuff that they're telling me, why haven't I found any prophecies about me, if any of that is true? There's prophecies about, the Hopi myth of, I forget the name that they use for that guy, but there's going to be some guy who's the older white brother from the east that's going to come and bring another missing piece of this this text that they have, and when he shows up, he will have that missing piece, and then he'll destroy the evil people and bring peace to the world. And I said, that sounds a lot like me, but that's obviously not me. I don't have that. And even though I'm the right ethnic background, but I so far nobody's giving me a missing piece of the inscription. So that's not me. All the other prophecies don't sound like me. So I'm like, if this is what you're saying is true, why is there no prophecy about me? So I found Pururvas, not trying to find it, I was shown that. But I went, and if you read the Norse mythology about Ragnarok, after the world is destroyed and the new world is created and the new gods, versions of the gods show up, then there's going to be a divine king who will come and rule the new earth. So I think that might be me. I don't know. I don't need that to be true. Again, what am I trying to do here? I am not trying to brag about myself. I've already said in the third dimension, I'm no different than anybody else. I'm just as limited as anybody else. One fantasy that I can't do for multiple reasons, but one that I've had is that I've wanted to say, these people have no idea who they're dealing with. And then I think about it and I go, they're only dealing with a third dimensional avatar. There's nothing special about me. There's nothing. I can't walk into, some room. I can't walk into the White House and say, "You guys don't know who I am. You can't touch me." No, they'll kill that guy, and they could end me. I'm just as vulnerable to all of the 3D dangers as anybody else. So I don't get to live out that fantasy where I get to say, "You have no idea who I am," because I'm nobody down here. Not only am I not nobody, I mean, I can't even, with all of my brilliance, I can't even create a viral YouTube video. I'm able to function and pay my bills, but I can't get beyond just, basic survival, having a place to live and having surfboards and having a car and food. I can't really get beyond that. I never, I really am dependent upon this website. If this website doesn't pay, I have to go work at Walmart. And there's nothing special about me down here. Most people don't give a crap. Most people wouldn't believe me. I don't have any influence in this world whatsoever in the third dimension. Outside of the third dimension, I have a lot of influence in one area. It's the only thing that I'm really allowed to do, is I can go and I can blast the earth with higher dimensional energy and shift everything. Outside of that, there's really nothing else I can do. So I'm not talking about this to brag. I don't even expect you to believe me. This is really just me talking and putting this together so I can stay sane, and I don't want to be a secret. As they say in the 12-step programs, you're as sick as your secrets, or you're as sick as you are a secret. So I don't want to be a secret. I'll tell the whole world if they'll listen, and I don't care if people believe me, like me, disbelieve me. The only thing that I don't like, I can't tolerate people disrespecting me and being mean to me. I can't tolerate that. I'll block you if you troll me and if you're mean to me. I'll block you off the channel so that you can't comment. But you don't have to believe me. If you write down, that's interesting, I don't think I believe it. I'm like, yeah, I don't blame you. I don't think I believe it either. But anyway, I'm not doing this because I think it's going to get me anything other than some sanity. That's it. All right. Even though I can see that these beliefs are potential symptoms of serious narcissistic delusions, I nevertheless choose to believe them to ironically preserve my mental and physical health. So I've already talked about that. Anyway, so that's it for today's video. Let the trolls show up. The trolls showed up for the last one. Trolls will show up for this one. The only thing that I recommend is that you find out for yourself. As I've said before, either I've completely lost it. Let me give you a scenario of what this could be. I would have believed this. If you had talked to me 4 or 5 years ago and explained there's a guy on YouTube and he's talking like this, he really believes it, I would have said, well, look at the guy. I mean, he's 61 years old, he's aging, so he's in denial of his age. He hasn't achieved anything, of any note, doesn't have any notoriety, any real success. He's living, paycheck to paycheck. He's single. When I find out, he's been divorced and his soulmate passed away. He's too old to, find young, hot girlfriends. He doesn't have the money to, find some young, hot model to marry him. The guy's losing his ability to be physically as athletically, powerful as he's been. He's a surfer and he can't, surf at the elite levels he used to. I mean, the guy's losing it. He's just descending into a pathetic, delusionary state where his internal experience, he can tell himself he's all of these amazing things when, in reality, he's just a aging, surfer who didn't make it as an actor. That's it. That's all that's going on there. I mean, if you don't think that hasn't occurred to me, let me correct your mistake. I've absolutely thought that over and over again, that this must be what's going on with me. I must just be losing it. I must just be a sad, pathetic old guy. And as true as that possibility rings to me, I can't deny the very real experiences that I've had. Emotionally, I've gotten healthier. Psychologically, I've gotten healthier. Even though I'm still a human, physically, I think I'm as healthy as a 61-year-old man can possibly be. And it's very possible that I'm actually becoming, enlightened, whatever that means, in a real sense, not in the made-up sense, where I don't need anything. I don't need to be surrounded by people. I'm not desperate or lonely. I'm not desperate for anything other than just being happy, and the level of love and power that I receive from my interactions with these beings, and just the experience of having been psychologically, emotionally awakened to some of these unbelievable past life things, and just the belief that, wow, reality really is as amazing as the Lord of the Rings. That's not a fantasy. That's historical documentary. That's the kind of reality that we've lived and I've lived, and we're trapped in this little tiny third dimensional network sitcom rerun called Planet Earth that's really just not fun at all. You know, that was one of the things as an actor I always wondered, I always thought, because it was in the 70s, when I grew up, TV was pretty new, and I thought that TV was going to get better, and it didn't. It's just still stupid. It's still just incredibly stupid and bad, and acting is horrible, and the writing is horrible, and it's never gotten beyond childish, condescending garbage. And that's just where we are. We're in this 70s rerun of really bad Brady Bunch reruns, and it's our reality. We have to live it. And it's so amazing and empowering to realize that no, outside of this little bubble, that there are 7-foot tall mantis beings that have superpowers, and that the soul of your mother can become a star in the sky and talk to you. These things are just, the world is so much more amazing than we ever thought. So if I am losing my mind, it's not the bad kind. I'll shut up with this. There was an experience I had back when I was in Hollywood in my 20s. I was driving around going to I'm pretty sure I was driving around going to a movie audition, which we had to do that. We had pagers back then, and I'd get a page, and I'd have to go and find a payphone and call, and my agent would tell me where to go to audition for some movie or television or whatever. And as I'm driving down somewhere in West Hollywood, I'm trying to remember the Wilshire, La Cienega or something like that. And there was this old woman in a bathrobe, like she was, elderly, clearly in her 80s. And she was walking down the sidewalk, and she was dancing, and she was just lost in, she was delusional. She was lost in this fantasy, and she was dancing, and I got this feeling like she thought she was, a 20-year-old ballerina, and she was seeing and experiencing a world that the rest of us were not seeing. And I ended up pulling over and going to a payphone and calling the cops and said, hey, there's this woman, she's apparently escaped from an old folks home, and I'm worried she's going to dance out into the middle of the street and get killed. Somebody should go pick her up. But as I'm watching her do this, I realized she was almost gone. She was leaving. And the veil was lifting, and she was seeing what reality was. And she was experiencing it and dancing, and we were the ones that were trapped in this three-dimensional nothing. She was seeing reality, and I could tell she was going to die. She was almost gone, and the veil was lifting. And I never forgot that. She knew more about reality in that moment than all the hundreds of people walking and driving by who were feeling sorry for her. And that's what I feel like is happening. I'm not dancing out in the street, almost getting hit by cars. But that's kind of where I'm at. And I'm really working to believe and accept what I'm being told. In the hopes that this solar flash thing is real, I want to be ready. If it's not, it's the worst that can happen. Got another decade of marginal surfing in me, maybe more, if I stay healthy. And I'll make the best of it. I'll continue to enjoy my life and make that my goal. That's it, my friends. That is my confession. I now have it all out there. As more experiences come, I will share them. I don't need you to believe me. By the way, I don't need your help. I know a lot of people want to codependently fix me and tell me I'm okay, or tell me, be careful, they're deceiving you. I know that you want to help. I'm not asking for that. I'm telling you my truth as I know it to be. And you can do with it what you want. My suggestion is that you find out for yourself. And if I was given one thing to tell the world before I left, it would be, learn to love yourself as thoroughly and completely as possible. That is the only reason you're here. The only reason you're here in this isolated, third-dimensional, very dense, challenging environment is to learn to love yourself above everything else. And if you do that, you will find God, because you are God. You will find happiness, and you will be able to truly love others, because you won't have any unconscious self-devaluation that you project onto them. I love you, my friends. I wish you all the best. I think there's some things coming up in the next week, October 2nd and October 6th, I think might be very important. I don't know that for a fact. I'm not prophesying. I'm deducing that. And I don't know when things are going to change, how they're going to change, but I know things are going to change. And with that, my friends, I love you. I wish you all the best. And I will see you all very soon. Please take very good care of yourselves. Again, the live guided interdimensional meditation on Wednesday afternoon. It'll be in the afternoon. It won't be at the normal time because we're going to do it during the eclipse. Please be very good to yourself. I will see you all very soon.